Hi, welcome to the video. Make sure to like and subscribe if you enjoy, and comment your thoughts and opinions on the stories. Let's get started. Am I the antagonist for getting mad at my boyfriend for not taking our baby with him? Hi there. I've just had a fight with my boyfriend and I need some unbiased opinions to whether I'm the asshole or not. For context, me and my partner have a 3-month-old beautiful baby girl. We split the childcare where I do about 90% and he does about 10% because he's working. So our daughter hasn't been feeding as much due to reflux, and as a result we've been feeding her every 2 hours to make sure she gets the food she needs. Unfortunately, this routine has affected her nighttime feeding habits and she's waking up more often, to the point that I'm only getting 4 hours of sleep a night during the week. My very cute daughter woke up at 3 AM this morning for food, and it was very hard for me to get up. As I felt exhausted and dizzy, I crawled back into bed at about 5:20 as it took a while for my daughter to settle back down. Anyway, as I crawled into bed I told my partner that he had about an hour before she was due to fed again. At precisely 6:20 I wake up to my daughter starting to cry because she's woken up hungry and my partner nowhere in sight. I pick my daughter up in her little basket and go looking for my partner, absolutely furious at him. I find him coming out of the living room with an oh shit look on his face. I hand the baby over to him and he said he was going to feed her but didn't know she was awake. I tried to go back to bed but couldn't as I was too worked up and made myself breakfast while my partner was changing our daughter. When he came into the living room I snapped at him that I might as well feed her now that I was up, that he should have taken her with him when he left the bedroom, and the whole point of him doing the morning feed is so that I can get some sleep. But instead he's leaving her in the bedroom with me and waking me up. He gets mad that I didn't show any appreciation for him taking the bins out. I snapped at him again asking where's my appreciation for staying up with the baby until she settles so he can get a decent amount of sleep, for making sure he has time away from her crying and having time to himself that I haven't had time to myself since she came home from the hospital 9 weeks ago, and for the past week I've coped on 4 hours of sleep a day. That I'm coping despite my spiraling mood. I feel like I might have just reacted because I'm tired. I feel like I'm an asshole. Edit. People seem to think he was taking the bins out when she was crying. He wasn't. He was in the living room doing stretches. He didn't do the bins until after I started feeding her. Now for the top comments. NTA. One thing that stood out in your post is that you do 90% of the parenting and he only does 10% because he is working. There are 168 hours in a week. Assuming he works 40 hours, that's still 128 hours when he's not. He should be pulling equal weight for childcare when he's home. Yes, he's got a job. And yes, that means you'll be doing more of the parenting related tasks. But you're not on vacation while he's at work. You're both working. Him at a job and you taking care of your child. But only one of you is getting sleep. Only one of you is getting breaks. Your division of labor is not equitable. And you need to figure out something more sustainable. Yes, new parenthood is hard, and you didn't react as well as you could have. But it sounds like your partner isn't pulling his weight, and you're more sleep deprived because of it. So I don't blame you for snapping. He gets mad that I didn't show any appreciation for him taking the bins out. Seriously? It's also his baby. No matter if he works or not, he can help you and let you sleep, not the a-hole. He gets mad that I didn't show any appreciation for him taking the bins out. Lol. Right. I was married for 20 years and not once did I get a pat on the back for taking out the trash. Men sometimes. Am I the antagonist for reporting an employee at my gym and getting him fired? Let me explain this, because I wasn't sure that I did something wrong, but some people told me that it might have been too much, and I'm not sure now. I, 28F, go to a gym kinda close to my house. My 30 male husband doesn't go with me since I go way too early for him and there is one where he works, so he goes there. I usually wake up at 6 AM and get there 6:45 am, 7 AM. I do not talk to anyone there unless I have to. Reception. Maybe ask an employee for help. If I see anyone I know, which have only happened like twice in the year that I've been going there. This only for context, that I'm not flirting or anything with anyone there. I'm happily married, and I'd go there to work out and leave. About a month ago, maybe a bit more IDK, there was a new employee who would always say good morning to me. Even if he wasn't in the reception, when I got there he would walk next to wherever I was working, and a good morning. I would say it back. BC well is called being polite. I never engaged in a conversation with him, and I also use my wedding ring every day. Well, now the issue. To access to the gym you need to put your finger, so it can scan your fingerprint, and then your picture and info shows on the screen of the reception. Last week I got a message from an unknown number asking how I was, etc. When I asked who it said it was this guy, and that he hoped I wouldn't get upset he took my number from the info. I said I was upset, and I'm married. He said he saw the ring, but wasn't sure, so wanted to ask. Okay. I said that I'm in fact married, and that is why I use a wedding ring, and he said, okay, and stopped texting. Since I didn't want to walk straight to the manager, because he would know it was me and what I was doing, I decided to send an email to the gym explaining everything, and how I felt my privacy was violated. My husband agreed completely. They sent an email back apologizing and saying they would handle it. The next day I walked to the gym, and he wasn't there. I assumed he was fired, since the next days he wasn't there either. We had my brother-in-law and wife and other family members around, and we were talking about it, and brother-in-law said how shitty that was, and I couldn't mess with someone's job like that. The guy apologized and stopped, so why did I kept going? Some of them agreed with him, and others said he was the one messing with his job. Not me, but now I feel kinda bad. I mean, he did stop when I said I was married. Am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. NTA. He absolutely should not have pulled your phone number from their records, and was rightfully fired. Women should be able to go to the fucking gym without being hit on, and without the fear of having their private information used. I hate giving out any information at places, because things like this freak me out. NTA at all. And in fact I'd be suspicious of brother-in-law after that, because how does he not see a problem with that? He said I acted like a Karen by complaining to the manager. That in this economy it is seriously F up to play with someone's job like that. I mean, I would think that in this economy someone would know not to risk their job like that. NTA, it's a privacy breach for him to use personal information stored by the gym for his own private uses, whether you were married or not. I had a tow truck driver do that once before. I wasn't married, and it freaked me out, and I did the same as you. Am I the antagonist for getting my brother's bus driver fired? I, 22F, have a 4-year-old brother who goes to a early education school to help with his delay in mental and verbal process. He rides the bus, and normally I have to put him on the bus since my mom has to work. With the pandemic, if there is any case at his school, it'll close for some time. During one of those times I ended up in a leg cast and crutches. My mom notified the school of my accident and said he may show a bit later for the bus. His bus stops in front of my house at the end of the driveway. With the cast on, it's not as easy and kinda hurts to go up and down the driveway, and I'm stuck like this for a while. So I asked my boyfriend to do it, since he has been with me, to put him on and off the bus multiple times in the past in the drive, or even making small talk with him man to man. Well, today he was supposed to put him on the bus, and I stood on the porch watching him take him, but he didn't get in. They stood there for some time before the driver took off, and they walked back. I asked WTF, and he said, since the driver don't recognize him, he didn't feel uncomfortable taking my brother, even though I was standing there in full view with my bright pink cast. He wanted my brother's legal guardians to be the ones to do it. I ended up calling my mom and explaining what happened. She ended up calling the school and complained. After a few days we were given an apology and report of the situation. He essentially was fired because he felt it was a good idea to leave a student alone with someone he identified as a stranger, rather than taking the student and reporting it to the school. Later my friends called me an a-hole because I got him fired when I could just swallowed the pain and taken the time to walk him there like an adult. Now for the top comments. NTA. His reasoning was 1, bizarre, and 2, showed poor judgment. NTA nothing about that makes sense and his reasoning is the worst thing I've ever heard. Wow, you're not this kid's guardian. Better drive off and leave him with you. Apostrophe. NTA. Seriously. Your friends think their judgment is better than you and your mother's when it comes to your little brother? Add to that, and they wanted you to swallow your pain for the sake of a professional that should have known better? Gimme a break. You did great and exactly what you should have done. And to swallow the pain for a situation that she could not have predicted would happen. What? Was she supposed to chase after the bus? Am I the antagonist for threatening to call the police on my mom and stepmom? My 25F parents divorced when I was 15 and my mother decided to move to another country. I didn't follow her because I already had a life here. She moved back 2 years ago with my stepmom. I visit my mom quite often. But ever since moving to Paris and marrying my SM, she has changed a lot. She's now hyper minimalist, which okay, her choice. But every time I visit her she tries to force that life on me. She only owns like 5 changes of clothes, 2 pair of shoes, barely any furniture, 3 cups. It was 2, but since I visit every Friday Sunday my mom bought 1 for me and this plus my SM. 3 plates, 3 spoons, etc etc. My SM was already like this, and my mom found the lifestyle adorable and joined. My SM hates that I drive a car and that have too many clothes. Anyway, I was victim of fraud and had my accounts left dry. I had to leave my apartment because I had no way of keep paying it until I saved enough again. My dad's not around anymore, so I asked my mom if I could stay with them, and I said that the maximum I could pay was $200, $400. She invited me rent-free. I wasn't comfortable with this, so we made a deal where it said I was gonna live there for 4 months rent-free and then I was gonna move out. I've been here for just 4 days, and yesterday when I came back from work I found my room almost completely empty. I quickly ran to my mom and SM and asked what happened. My mom said that I had too many stuff and that's not how they live, so they left just the essentials and donated the rest. My SM said that they did me a favor because I had so many things it looked like my soul was trapped in this world, and I said that they had no right and ran to my room panicking. My mom followed me, but I was so mad. She tried to talk, and since I had something like that recently happen to me, I went to my BS chat and hit the audio button. I asked my mom to repeat what they did, and she did it. I said that I had a recording on her admitting she stole my things and gave it away with her wife, and that if she didn't retrieve them in the following days or compensated me for it, I was gonna call the police on them. My stepmom called me and they did retrieve most of my things this morning, but most of my clothes was gone. So my mom said we could shop this weekend and she'll pay for everything. She was so embarrassed and regretful and said sorry a bunch of times because she realized she crossed a boundary. She said my SM began doing it and she only joined. My SM went to sleep somewhere else because she tried to kick me out and my mom didn't let her. This house is my mom's, so am I the antagonist? Maybe I took it too far because they did let me live here rent free after all. I don't even know if the audio would been proof enough to press charges. Now for the top comments. NTA, they stole from you plain and simple. You offered to pay rent. They refused. That doesn't give them the right to force their beliefs on you. Thank you. Let's just be glad Ops Mom is coming out the fog. The SM thought she was gonna be able to get up to go along with the shenanigans like their mother, and just no. At worst, she was trying to push Op out of her mom's life, and I only say that because she was pisses about Op getting a cup, a plate and fork for when they visit, and at best, she was trying to push her lifestyle onto an unwilling person. NTA, it seems like threatening to call the police jarred your mother into finally realizing how wrong it was to get rid of your things behind your back. Good for you. NTA, just because they live a lifestyle doesn't mean you have to as well. Forcing you into it was a major move. They should have just closed your door if they thought it was soul sucking, not their stuff. Then hands off. Even though your mom kind of came around. She's an but your stepmom is an even bigger one. Yeah, they should have been upfront about it and said not to bring that stuff because it's their house. Even if the lifestyle is weird, They didn't, and going behind ops back to take all that things away is crossing boundaries. Am I the antagonist for giving my daughter a tattoo? Fresh account because I post my tattoos and art on other subreddits, and I don't want to put myself or my child at risk. Background: I, 36F, have a daughter who I'll call L, 18F. Obviously I had her very young and her father died when she was 2. So pretty much her whole life it's just been the two of us, and we are incredibly close. I'm a tattoo artist, and since I was on my own, Elle was basically raised in the studio. So she's used to being around unique people and developed the same love I have for body art and modification. I've always encouraged her to be her own person and told her she can look however she wants to. When she was 16 I helped her dye her hair pink, and my best friend who's a body piercer pierced her nose for her. As you can imagine I'm very heavily tattooed, and Elle has always adored them since she was a child. Elle has been saving for the past year for her first tattoo. She turned 18 in April, and a few days after her birthday, she said she wanted me to do it for her. I happily agreed, and we sat down and designed the tattoo for her, a band of flowers circling her upper arm. Once she was happy with it, I waited a couple of weeks to make sure it was definitely what she wanted before I booked her into the studio and gave her the tattoo. She absolutely loves it, and the whole process was an amazing bonding experience between us. The problem started when her grandparents, her dad's parents, came down to see her for her birthday a few weeks after, since they had to travel and couldn't see her on the actual day. It's getting hot here, so Elle has been able to show off the tattoo a lot. So it was fully on show when her grandparents arrived, and they were absolutely horrified. I should mention that her grandparents have never liked me ever since we were together as teenagers, and only wanted to have some kind of relationship with me when they found out I was having their son's child. When Elle's dad died they stayed in contact, but treated me like a stranger who was just attached to their granddaughter instead of her mother. They didn't say anything in front of Elle, but they took me aside and let me have it. They accused me of forcing her into getting the tattoo and into my lifestyle, and told me I'd ruined her. I said that she's an adult now and she's allowed to do whatever she wants with her own body, and that she wanted me to do it for her. They left early and haven't spoken to me or Elle since. I'm starting to wonder if I made the wrong decision doing the tattoo for her, since some of my friends agree with them, and I'm starting to feel like a bad parent. Now for the top comments. NTA, you're a tattoo artist who tattooed a legal adult. Unless you're leaving something out, I genuinely can't think of a reason to find this morally wrong. And most important, seems to me that grandparents' feelings for Ella aren't so deep after all, if they can cut her off over a tattoo. They left early and haven't spoken to me or Elle since. A win-win situation for you both. They sound about as pleasant as having pubic crabs the day after all your fingernails fell off. Not the a-hole. That gave me a chuckle. Actually, more of a snort. A snort chuckle. Am I the antagonist for telling my parents that IDC, that my sister's sick? I, 15F, have a younger sister, 12F. My sister was diagnosed with epilepsy when she was about 6 or 7. Since then, my parents have had a major soft spot for her. It's a very mild form that usually just causes her to space out and kinda stare off into the distance. She hasn't had any seizures for about 5 years. Since I was younger, my parents have been babying my sister and prioritizing her needs. I don't really mind that, because helping people who need help isn't an issue to me. I've had my devices taken because electronics are bad for her and had to stay home from plans to make sure she's safe. The issue with that though is that with my parents constantly hovering around her, she never has to do anything for herself. So when they have to work, her well-being falls onto me. I have had to miss practice and after school plans with my friends. I'm very serious about my school. My parents know this and are really strict. There's a study club at my school to help prepare for our exams. I already told my parents I was going, but since my sister was home alone my dad said he wanted me to miss the club and cook something for us to eat. When I asked why doesn't sister make her own food, he told me she isn't used to cooking on the stove yet. That made me mad. but I walked home anyway. My sister had a bad day at school, so she came to my room and asked to use my laptop so she can watch Netflix. I told her no, because I needed it to study. She snapped at me telling me that I should get a hobby and friends instead of staying in my room all the time. I returned with the reason why I stay in my room to study, because our parents don't trust you by yourself, and to use the PS4 as she really wanted to watch something. She then called dad, who told me to give her my laptop. I said I needed to do homework. They told me to give her my laptop or else I wouldn't have one. I told them I needed to study and hung up. When mom came home later, she tried to take my laptop and yelled at me for making her come home. I lost it and told her that she was the one who made me come home when I could been using a school laptop to study. I said that they need to let me live instead of making me raise their kid. She left and took my laptop to give to my sister. Later, my parents came home and tried to explain to me why they've been so stressed with work and how they need me to watch my sister so they have one less thing to worry about. Then they went on the same spiel on how, since she used to have epilepsy, they don't want her stressed because of her condition. I just said I don't care about her stupid condition. She isn't terminally ill and doesn't deserve half the attention that you give her. Leave me alone about it already. They got mad at me and said I was being selfish by not helping them out and sent me to bed. Then this morning, they didn't speak to me at all. So, am I the antagonist? Now for the top comments. NTA. Based on your story, your parents are treating you too unfairly. It will cause problems in the future. Your sister will not learn the skills needed to be independent. They are leaning on you too much. In a few years they are going to wonder why Op never comes home. Why she never wants to talk to them. I just want to clarify that my sister has outgrown her epilepsy according to her neurologist. I'm not 100% if that means it's not gonna come back, but I think that's good reasoning for me not to be watching her all the time. Missing out on educational activities to watch your sister is not okay. Neither is losing access to a device you are using for your own education. Your parents need make arrangements for a babysitter on these occasions. While it's good of you to help out from time to time, it's not something that should cost your learning. Not the a-hole op. Your parents and yourself need to set some firmer guidelines to ensure your next 3 years of study are not continually interrupted.